Translator Ninetails, editor Fish Creek. As they journeyed further upstream, only 30 miles remained until they reached the source of the surging river. Yet strange events began to unfold. Chinmu saw ahead a glowing light piercing the suffocating darkness. Before them lay a village, the lights flickering like a beacon in the night. Within the village an elder toiled, binding and pasting together paper ships. With each completed boat it would lift and sail away, gently landing on the riverside. As men and women, drenched and weary, climbed aboard, the paper boats would drift toward the heart of the river, disappearing into a thick, impenetrable fog. "Those are the messengers of death," murmured the village chief. "They come at night to escort the souls lost to the river. Do not disturb them." "Messengers of death?" Chinmu was intrigued, his eyes lingering on the elder. The elder's features were obscured, a veil seeming to hide his face. Chinmu, attempting to peer closer, found his gaze turned aside by an unseen force. The elder noticed, lifting his head to meet Chinmu's eyes. A chill coursed through Chinmu's veins, his very soul quivering, as though it yearned to flee his body. But in that moment, a resounding voice, like the reverberations of thunder, echoed in his mind. The imprint of Rulai, placed there by Old Ma, flared to life, blocking the elder's gaze. "Living beings go no further." A muffled voice reverberated, and the elder, lowering his head again, resumed his task of binding the paper ships. The village chief spoke again, his tones stern yet cautious. "Muer, avoid meddling in matters beyond the living world." "The world beyond the living world?" Chinmu, bewildered, asked. "We're still in the great ruins, not the afterlife. Why do you speak of it this way?" The village chief's voice was grave. "The Great Ruins is a land of anomalies, where the boundaries between worlds blur. This village is a gateway, a link between the realm of the living and the world of the dead." He paused, casting a glance toward the elder. "Such places exist not only within the Great Ruins, but beyond it. If you encounter a village like this again, avoid engaging with it. So long as you remain unobtrusive, they will not interfere with our world. Yet these elders are wise. Seek their counsel when you are lost." The elder, raising a finger, pointed into the dark void. "You cannot reach the true Carefree village." The village chief bowed his head in thanks, and they continued their journey. As they advanced, the jade pendant upon Chinmu's chest stirred, rising from his neck, pointing ahead. A flicker of anticipation tightened Chinmu's chest. "Village chief!" The village chief turned to see the pendant's strange movement and nodded in acknowledgement. Chinmu took the pendant from around his neck, hesitating before releasing it. The pendant soared ahead, growing faster and faster, as though it were a shooting star racing through the dark. They followed its flight, and soon they heard a soft plop as it collided with an unseen barrier, causing ripples in the air. Before them, the world seemed to shimmer and open, revealing a strange land. A vast expanse veiled in fog, with towering mountains stretched out, hidden deep within the night, blending with the very fabric of darkness. "This is another world," said the village chief, his voice tinged with awe. They rushed forward, the pendant leading the way, its trembling pulse quickening. "This place, could it be Carefree Village?" The village chief's voice was full of longing, his hand reaching for the pendant, which seemed intent on pulling him forward. Chinmu fastened the pendant back around his neck, and they pressed onward, the land growing more peculiar with every step. The mountains before them stood tall, though cloaked in grey mist, their outlines hazy and indistinct. Could this truly be Carefree Village? The messengers of death had warned them they would not find it. Suddenly, a sharp crack sounded beneath their feet. Chinmu leaped back, his heart hammering in his chest. Beneath him, a skeletal hand emerged, followed by a skull that stared at him with hollow, empty sockets. "Human!" The bone-chilling scream echoed through the mist. Chinmu recoiled, gazing downward to see the ground littered with countless bones, stacked high and deep. The mountains in the distance were not made of stone, but of bones. Bones from creatures that once were gods, now twisted and reanimated by the fog. As the skeletons began to stir, a chorus of eerie voices rose from the mist. "Where is the human?" A living one approaches. "They have flesh, we have none. Steal their flesh." The mountains shook as skeletal giants rose from the ground, formed from the scattered bones of long-dead giants. Their immense figures moved with a haunting, rhythmic purpose, gathering strength with every step. The village chief grimaced, his eyes darting toward the advancing horde. What cursed place is this? From the grey fog, small skeletons leaped forward, their jaws snapping. Chinmu struck them down with a single blow, but more surged forward in waves, a sea of bones crashing against them. With a deep breath, the village chief channeled his vital energy, which burst forth as radiant sword lights, cutting through the waves of skeletal foes, yet the sheer number of the dead made their defense all but impossible. In that moment, light bloomed from Chinmu's brow. Behind him, the great Buddha appeared, shining with divine radiance. The skeletal horde recoiled in terror, scattering in all directions. The mountains of bones stilled, frozen by the Buddha's presence, as if they too feared the might of the ancient being. As the fog parted, a soft glow emerged, revealing a small leaf boat drifting between two towering bone mountains. Atop the boat, a lantern swayed gently, casting a pale light into the fog. A figure clad in a tattered raincoat and a bamboo hat stood at the bow, silently rowing. The boat glided toward them, and the figure turned, bowing toward the passenger seated beneath the lantern. The man reached into his cloak, producing a gold coin. As the boatman took the coin, Chinmu noticed the skeletal hand that grasped it, devoid of flesh. A chill ran through him, but the figure merely nodded. "Brother?" The two men exchanged bows, the air thick with unspoken understanding. "Hold your steps, brother," the village chief suddenly called. The figure paused, turning to face him. "Do you have any spare coins?" The man under the bamboo hat chuckled hoarsely. "Old sword god, still trying to borrow from me? It's been some time." With a sly smile, the man handed over a few gold coins, and the village chief reached out, his vital energy forming hands to grasp them. As their hands met, the figure gave a faint sigh. "You're still a bit stronger than me, but not for long." With a flash, the man vanished into the fog. The village chief opened his palm, revealing 4 gold coins. With a thoughtful expression, he handed them to Chinmu. "Let's board the boat," he said, his voice calm. They climbed aboard, and the boatman began to row once more, guiding them deeper into the fog, toward the mysteries beyond. Chinmu sat beneath the flickering lantern, the jade pendant against his chest emanating a faint, otherworldly glow. The pendant seemed to yearn for the air, as if eager to ascend and flee to distant lands. Where exactly is Carefree Village? Chinmu pondered, his gaze distant, perplexed by the unfamiliar surroundings. This can't be it, or is it? The small boat glided through the waters, its pace deliberate, neither slow nor rushed. Since his embarkation, Chinmu had noticed the skeletal figures on the shores paid no heed to their passing, as though unable to perceive their presence. The skeletal mountains, once towering with ominous life, now stood motionless, sinking back into the silence of death, returning to their lifeless state. Chinmu's mind wandered as he recalled the bizarre encounters along the way. Each moment had defied his expectations, each stranger than the last. The monsters of the dark, the eerie figures of death in the river village, the fog-shrouded world, and the strange boatman, each event inconceivable yet undeniably real. The world beyond the great ruins was far more complex than Village Chief had imagined. The darkness they traversed, which Village Chief had believed to be the Dark Realm, could not wholly explain their experiences. Perhaps, just perhaps, there were other worlds hidden within the dark, each more enigmatic than the last. "Who was the man who gave us the Fengdu coins?" Chinmu asked, his voice quiet as he turned his gaze to the boatman. "An old friend," Village Chief answered, his tone devoid of emotion. "I haven't seen him in years, thought he had perished, but it seems he's still alive, remarkable for someone of my time." Chinmu's thoughts swirled, imagining the figures from Village Chief's era, powerful, heroic beings who had shaped the world, their names now faded into myth. But time, as it does, had worn them down. Even those once unstoppable now faced the inevitable approach of age. He always had a knack for exploring, far more than I did, Village Chief mused. I envied his carefree nature. He has no fixed home, always chasing the next mystery. His name is Ling Jing, marked by a mole beneath his left eye and a missing ring finger, severed by none other than me. Chinmu's curiosity grew. Where are we headed then? Looking around, Chinmu noticed how distant they were from the strange world's entrance. He had no idea where they had come from, nor could he fathom where they were going if the boat continued its silent drift. This place, was it even part of the great ruins? Village chief furrowed his brow. The Jade Pendant has guided us here. It's the first time in my life I've encountered such a strange place, but since the pendant has brought us, it must be tied to its origin. We have no choice but to follow the boatman into the unknown. As they sailed deeper into the fog, a great expanse slowly came into view. The mountains that had once loomed as skeletons now appeared as solid earth, and a wooden dock stood at the edge of the fog, awaiting their arrival. The boat came to a slow halt, its leaf-crafted hull brushing against the dock. Qin reached for his Fengdu coin to pay the boatman, but the skeletal figure raised a hand, signaling him to stop. With a nod, Qin handed over another coin, and they disembarked, their feet touching the mysterious land. As Qin glanced back, the boat and its spectral ferryman had vanished into the mist, leaving only the faint glow of the lantern. Strange indeed, Qin muttered, his jade pendant floating lightly in the air, guiding him forward. They walked for some time, and before long they came upon a stone marking the boundary. Etched in seal script were the words, "The living realm of the dead, the living shall not go further, while the dead shall pass onward." Qin read the inscription aloud, a sense of unease creeping over him. "Village chief, do we continue?" Village chief smiled faintly, gazing ahead at the distant villages. "Since we're already here, what else can we do but see where this path leads?" With that, they crossed the boundary stone. But the moment they did, Qin recoiled in shock. His hands had transformed into ghastly bones. Hastily tearing at his shirt, he found his body had turned skeletal, his flesh completely gone. Village chief, too, had changed. His body was now a floating skeleton, yet curiously his arms and legs had returned, flesh and blood replacing bone. "The living realm of the dead," Village chief murmured, his voice calm despite the unnerving change. "Mu'er, we must return." Hastily, Qin retreated to the boundary stone. His flesh and blood returned immediately, as if the strange realm had bent the rules of life and death itself. Village chief's arms and legs faded once more, his skeletal form fully restored. "An incredible world indeed," Village chief remarked, his tone tinged with awe. They ventured further into this twisted realm, where the very laws of existence seemed warped. Before them, a village appeared, peaceful and serene, its people tending to livestock, birds singing, and flowers blooming in a tranquil atmosphere. But there was something wrong. The villagers' stares were heavy with curiosity, their eyes filled with a strange, knowing gaze. An elder approached, his weathered face breaking into a smile. "Visitors from afar, what brings you to our humble village?" the elder asked. Qin bowed respectfully. "We seek the path to Carefree Village. Could you direct us?" The elder pointed toward the mountains behind the village. "Cross the mountains and pass through the gate, and you shall find Carefree Village." "Thank you," Qin replied. As they left the village, Qin mind lingered on the oddity of it all. "Village chief," he said, "there's something strange. My god eyes, which Grandpa Blind helped me unlock, still show me glimpses even when my sight is gone." Village chief stopped, intrigued. "What did you see?" "Devilish aura," Qin said, his voice tinged with uncertainty. "Ah," Village chief sighed. "This realm alters life and death. It's not just a matter of life and flesh. What you saw was likely their true nature, the Heavenly Devil Horde." "Heavenly Devil Horde?" Qin echoed, confused. "They are no mere devil cult," Village chief explained. "They come from a distant land, their nature far more insidious. Perhaps this realm is theirs. But we shall see." After crossing the mountains, they finally arrived at the gates of a vast city, an imposing structure marked with the words Fengdu. Qin heart skipped a beat. Fengdu? The gate to hell? Village chief paid no mind, walking forward. Qin followed, only to stop in shock before the immense sight before them. The city stretched endlessly, temples and palaces soaring into the heavens. "This," Village chief murmured, "this is the capital of Fengdu." And before them, chained to the sky, was a ship, a colossal structure of mountains, floating upon chains like a lost vessel, carrying a broken moon at its bow.